Welcome to episode 2 of 10 Freaky Facts. This one's about Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. He was born February 18th, 1949 in Salt Lake City, Utah. He was the second of two brothers. He was born to Tom and Mary Ridgway. Tom, in his later years, was a bus driver, but did have military background. Mary worked at J.C. Penney. The family would move from Utah to Washington State. And for fact 1, Gary may have had feelings for his mother. These feelings were sexual, and they were only made worse by the fact that Mary treated him a little weird. Having issues with bedwetting into his late childhood years, Mary would force him into the tub, washing his genitals and belittling him, of which he had a lot to say.
You know, psychiatrists are always interested in talking with people about their mothers. Now, what can you tell me about your relationship with your mother that will help me understand why you would kill dozens of prostitutes?
My dad wasn't around that much. He was working all the time, and she was trying to get me to do better in school and speaking to me that you worthless or disgrace me or yell at me. Didn't feel loved.
Chin.
She was more of a sex object than a mother. I had a fantasy of wanting to have sex, touch her, feel her body.
But at the same time, you're angry at your mom. How did you think about hurting your mom?
Killing her, maybe slice her up or something. It would be some way to defile what she's always loved, ruin her beauty.
Number 2. After the birth of his son, he became fanatical about religion.
On a scale of killers from 1 to 10, do you think you're one of the best of all time?
I rate myself as probably number 1.
So that's pretty damn good, isn't it?
That's pretty good, yeah.
He was often seen crying at church, falling asleep with his Bible, and just overall acting a little strange. While he was typically considered to be a very hands-on and decent father, we began to see signs that there was just something under the surface with Gary. Number 3. Gary once stabbed a 6-year-old boy. Gary was just a teenager himself when he found the boy playing. Dressed as a cowboy, Gary lured the boy away and ended up stabbing him. The boy survived. It was only discovered many years later that Gary was associated with the crime. Number 4. Gary kept his mother on his checking account well after marriage. He would even go so far as to consult with her before making purchases. Usually big purchases, but her overreaching influence continued to remain on him well into adulthood.
Every check has an identification code for computer recognition. The amount of the check is now added to the...
Number 5. When Ridgway was arrested, it is reported that he asked, "So, what's going to happen to my truck?" During the arrest, he seemed calm and even aloof at times. To add to this, Gary and his brothers were actually car guys, favoring the Chrysler brand growing up. They usually were always outside working on some car or some project. Number 6. Gary was a savvy spender. He would spend hours poring over classified ads, searching for a good deal, his favorite being the little nickel classified ads. He even went so far as to carry around a notebook, marking down where he could find a good deal. He was also a fan of thrift shops and antique stores.
Customers may be cautious about what they spend their hard-earned money on, and they may be looking for bargains, but many are buying the expensive stuff this year, like the
No matter where he shopped, he was always trying to find a good deal. Clearly, he was in favor of slashing prices as well as other things. Number 7. He had a low IQ, reportedly of about 82 to 85. An IQ of the low 80s usually suggests that you're a little impaired, but you're still able to go to college and live a relatively normal life. Gary struggled academically, often being called the R word.
Mom and Dad talked about putting me in school.
Now you're crying as you remember that. Why are you crying?
Because I didn't want to go.
Number 8. Growing up, Gary had a pretty terrible childhood. Now, this is often pretty expected of individuals who grow up to do heinous, terrible things. And he is no exception. Growing up, he was often beat. He was humiliated by his mother. The boys were not allowed snacks after school, not even a single slice of cheese. They would get in trouble. His father drank heavily, and his mother was rather promiscuous. All of this combined sort of created a volatile relationship and atmosphere in the household, which continued into his adulthood, although he did get along with his brothers relatively well. Number 9 is that Gary was 20 years old when he graduated high school. Despite being rather well liked, including with girls, he often got a decent amount of dates and went socialized, and he played on the football team and was an overall somewhat popular student. He still struggled with his academics, likely due to his low IQ and his troubled household. Number 10. Ridgway often used his son as bait. To disarm those who were a little apprehensive about getting in his truck, he would often show his son's toys or photos or some other personal effects so the person would feel more at ease and would get in his truck and come along with him. This went on numerous times, and even one time Matthew was in the truck when Gary picked up a quote-unquote friend. After disappearing into the woods, Matthew was told the friend just decided to walk home. It was later discovered that Gary took the woman into the woods and strangled her to death, only to get back in the truck and continue on the trip with his son.
Kill somebody, you gotta be trustworthy, make sure your appearance is okay. You can't go unshaved. They would get in the car. In the vehicle, I had some of my son's stuff in there, toys, 8-year-old toys on the dash. It was like a family setting. Put my finger over my driver's license to hide my name. Mm-hmm. But on the opposite side was pictures. And a picture of my son. And they would see my son, and they would.
Gary Ridgway currently resides in prison in Walla Walla, Washington. Despite being in prison for many years now, the echoes of his crimes and the stains of his crimes and actions still grip the community to this day.
I focused every bit of my hurt towards killing the woman. Killing the woman was my releasing point. When I killed her, my hate for myself was gone for that day.